Hello and welcome. This is Gist Nigeria. Coming up on the program, Nigerian government resumed trial of Nnamdi Kanu for terrorism, treasonable felony and other offences in Abuja. Watching the watchdog, we look at the controversial bills seeking to update media regulation in Nigeria. And breaking limits, Zimbabwe's unemployed youth create opportunities in surprising sectors. Plus,
hi, my name is Rolake Rishiji. Check me out.
The development manager seeking to transform work culture in Nigeria through technology. Welcome to Gist Nigeria from the BBC and Channels TV, where we bring you stories making the rounds on social media. I'm Ajoke Hulotse. Our top story this week: the trial of the leader of the proscribed Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, on charges bordering on terrorism, treasonable felony, unlawful possession of firearms, and management of an unlawful society, has resumed before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami told journalists on Tuesday that Kanu was arrested and repatriated to Nigeria on Sunday following a collaborative effort between security agencies in Nigeria and Interpol. What does this all mean? Let's find out in this report. On Tuesday, an unlikely piece of news broke out in Nigeria.
Self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted.
This generated a shockwave that startled everyone.
We were not expecting this kind of arrest, and that shows the collaborative effort of our security agencies. And the issue of this arrest is a major one. I must commend our security agency.
When someone left British soil with British passport and he was traveling to third countries and he was intercepted in a country other than the British and was brought to Nigeria forcibly against his will and presumably against the will of the British authorities.
Nnamdi Kanu has been the latest and arguably the loudest deafening voice of secession in Nigeria in recent years. He used social media to push his separatist agenda and has a huge following.
He has been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence.
In 2015, he was arrested in Lagos and paraded in court by the authorities. The following year, he was remanded in prison but was released on bail a year after on health grounds. Shortly after, he disappeared. He will only speak to his followers via social media. His utterances, often termed as inciting. Kanu's IPOB has been accused of causing insecurity in the southeast in recent months, allegations the group continue to deny. IPOB's lawyer says Kanu hasn't done anything wrong. But what does his arrest mean for the quest for self-determination?
Mr. Kanu and members of the Indigenous People of Biafra, and even those of them in Western Nigeria that are also pushing for self-determination, they possess a political opinion that is clearly protected under the laws of Federation of Nigeria.
Nobody is against Nnamdi Kanu's agitation for Biafra, but should be done in a proper manner, not with criminality.
Human rights lawyer Monde Ubani says the days ahead may not be as easy.
There was a very small interview that took place between him and the judge on the day he was rearranged. The question was, why did he jump? Why was he not available for his trial? And he said that it's only a living person that could face his trial, that his life was in danger. He felt that his life was in danger. That's why he had to run away, because there was an invasion of his father's home by the military, according to him, and that made him to run away in order to save himself and save his life. So I don't know whether government will want to bring that as a charge, or that also may likely probably affect the decision of the court in further granting him bail, because I'm sure his lawyers will want to renew the application for his bail, that he should be granted bail, the court will take into account all the surrounding circumstances, including the allegation of having John bail, and also his own defense that ordinarily would have wanted to face his trial, but for the intervention of the military. So these are things that will play out in the days ahead.
The British High Commission in Nigeria says Nnamdi Kanu, who is also a British national, was not arrested in the United Kingdom for extradition purposes, as been reported in some media publications. The Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed July the 26th for the continuation of the trial of the self-acclaimed separatist leader. IPOB's counsel is hopeful that justice will be served.
I have confidence in the Nigerian judiciary to ultimately do justice in the matter.
As the countdown to July 26 commences, many Nigerians are watching to see how justice will be served in this matter. We'll keep tracking events in that story as they unfold. Now, some of the most controversial topics in Nigeria today are two bills seeking to amend the laws establishing the Nigeria Press Council and the National Broadcasting Commission. The sponsor of the bill says they seek to strengthen press freedom, but like a dartboard, many have hurled criticisms at it for attempting to gag the media. But what is in this bill? Why the controversy? And who will benefit from it if eventually passed into law? Just Nigeria's Wale Fakile has gone to find out.
Like the proverbial pendulum, Nigeria's democracy has swung back and forth since independence. But after a series of feats and starts, the country returned to full democratic rule in 1999. More than 20 years down the line in its fourth republic, there are still concerns the country's democracy has not matured. Free speech and a free press, key tenets of this style of government, have remained thorny issues. Last year, an attempt by federal lawmakers to regulate social media and define what constitutes hate speech was fiercely rejected by the public. Fast forward to June this year, a member of the House of Representatives presented bills seeking to amend the act establishing the Nigerian Press Council and the National Broadcasting Commission. These proposed amendments come amid public criticisms of the government's suspension of microblogging site Twitter. The two bills, sponsored by a chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, Honorable Segun Odebumi, have since passed second reading with public hearings held. Now, the bills have generated public uproar, even as the presidency has distanced itself from the proposed amendments. In a statement, presidential spokesman Femi Adesina said, and I quote, "That is not strictly a presidency thing because the president has nothing to do with that." End of quote. Simply put, the proposed amendments to the NBC Act seeks to put online broadcasters under the purview of the Commission. The bill seeks to make it mandatory for the NBC to regulate all social and online media platforms within the country. Shortly after suspending Twitter, the FG had directed the Commission to commence the process of licensing all OTT and social media operations in Nigeria.
Our main concern is that our members will be constrained. The ability to deliver news quick, fast, and factual as it were will be affected.
The proposed NBC amendment also wants to give the Commission powers to determine the public interest and impose sanctions on TV and radio stations it perceives to have erred in this regard.
You will not be the accuser, the judge, and also you will implement the penalty.
Perhaps the most controversial of Honorable Odebumi's bills is the proposal addressed in the National Press Council Act. The amendments seek what has been described as harsh punishments for defaulting media organizations and journalists. Media organizations and journalists could pay as high as 10 million naira and 250,000 naira respectively for infractions in the proposed amendments.
When you have the kind of draconian law, reporters will be scared or do their job. So you would affect their productivity, and they are independent. You see, media is supposed to be independent.
However, Honorable Odebumi says the increase in fine and penalties for persons / individuals or body corporates that violate any of the provisions of the laws are mere upgrading, as these fines are already in the existing Press Council Act. They were only raised to reflect the current situation. There is also a fake news provision in the bill, stating that any person who carried news established to be fake commits an offense. There have been repeated allegations that bloggers and online news platforms publish stories that are outright misinformation. Now, could this unprofessional conduct among other infractions have prompted these amendments?
We complain a lot about bloggers and all that. Had the government taken steps to prosecute those who may have erred against the law? No. And you think that new laws will overnight change their activities?
The Nigerian Press Council was established in 1992 to govern ethical standards and set the code of conduct in the Nigerian press. But under the proposed amendment, the Minister of Information has to approve the National Press Code and standards before they are disseminated. The President is also to appoint the chairman of the council on the recommendation of the minister.
I don't think there's anywhere in the world where a minister will approve code on conduct for journalists. And even in Iraq, I don't think it happens that way.
NBC should have a broadcaster head in it, and if you constitute a board, we should have fair representation of broadcasters on the board.
The NPC itself has a question of legitimacy hanging over it. Journalists and media stakeholders had dragged the government to court in 1999 over some of the clauses in the law that established the council. In 2010, 17 of the 39 clauses in the NPC law were ruled unconstitutional by the court, but the federal government successfully appealed that verdict in 2015. The matter is now at the Supreme Court, as journalists have also appealed that judgment. So, what does this all mean for this proposed amendment?
When there's a case before court that joined you to a party, it is expected that either party to the suit does not act in any way contrary to the subject matter or the interests that are connected to the suit. When you do that, you're actually acting against the principles of law. Now, it is not automatic that immediately that person acts that way, it triggers some kind of alarm. You need to bring your case before the court to say, we are in this, there's a suit pending before the court. The subject matter, which is this. Now, there has now been some acts or conduct that is now infringing on, right, or is likely impacting on the issues that are before the court.
Reporters Without Borders ranks Nigeria 120 in the 2021 World Press Freedom Index, indicating a drop from 115 in last year's ranking. RSF also claims Nigeria is now one of West Africa's most dangerous and difficult countries for journalists. With dismal ratings like this, what would be the implication of the NPC and NBC bills on freedom of expression and the press if these amendments are passed into law?
Governments have almost an abiding need to keep their business in the dark. They have an abiding need to conceal their activities. And the press is constitutionally empowered to bring to light that which people want to keep in the dark.
Honorable Adebumi says the proposed amendments will not stifle the media and do not tamper with any section where media freedom is provided. The presidency has since washed its hands off the proposed media bills, and the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has assured journalists in Nigeria that they are not under any threat.
There is absolutely no threat. Journalists in Nigeria, not in the least. On the contrary, this government will seek the partnership of the media, and we seek also their understanding.
Similarly, a 2008 study by UK-based Governance and Social Development Resource Center, GSDRC, finds that the free and independent media is integral to the process of democratization and good governance, and ultimately to human development. The research adds that it is important to support policies which eradicate barriers to the free exchange of information and communication. Such barriers include state censorship, the intimidation of journalists, or the domination of the private media by a few large suppliers. Wale Fakile, Just Nigeria.
What a debate. We hope stakeholders will look at this bill and deliver to Nigerians an amendment that works for all. Still ahead on Just Nigeria. A local startup develops app to enhance personal security. We'll bring you this story and more after the break. Stay with us.